Once upon a time, Meghan Markle's story felt like a modern fairy tale. A biracial actress from Los Angeles, raised by a single father, walks into the most exclusive monarchy on earth and captures the world's attention. She was a symbol of change, a breath of fresh air in a world built on centuries-old tradition. The palace gates didn't just open for her. They sparkled in her presence. It was history in motion. For a moment, the world leaned in. But fairy tales are fragile. And in Meghan's case, the storybook pages began to tear far earlier than anyone expected. First, she was adored. Elegant, articulate, and undeniably charismatic, Meghan brought something new to the royal family. A global perspective, a modern voice, and an American approach to public life. Her wedding to Prince Harry wasn't just a royal event. It was a cultural moment. Opera was there. A gospel choir sang in St. George's Chapel. It was royal tradition rewritten for a new era. But behind the smiles and camera flashes, the cracks were already forming. The British press, notoriously brutal, sometimes cruel, began to turn. Meghan's every move was scrutinized, often compared unfavorably to Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge. Headlines once filled with adoration soured into allegations. Diva behavior, family feuds, staff complaints. A tabloid feeding frenzy was born, and Meghan became its main course. Yet the media wasn't her only adversary. Within palace walls, her modern outlook clashed with a centuries-old system designed to resist reinvention. Meghan wasn't just joining the royal family. She was trying to reshape it, and that, to some insiders, was her cardinal sin. Then came the exit. The decision to step back from royal duties, Megxit, as the press dubbed it, was framed as a bid for peace, privacy, and independence. But what followed was a flurry of content. Bombshell interviews, a Netflix docuseries, a podcast, a children's book, even a lifestyle brand. Meghan hadn't left the spotlight. She'd taken it with her. At first, the world listened. Her sit-down with Oprah Winfrey sent shockwaves across continents. She spoke of racism, isolation, and suicidal thoughts. A raw portrait of a woman allegedly pushed to the brink. Many sympathized. Others questioned the narrative. But everyone was watching. Until, slowly, they weren't. The very strategy that once amplified her voice began to wear thin. Every new project felt like a variation of the same theme: Meghan misunderstood. Meghan silenced. Meghan reinventing herself. The public, once captivated, began to drift. Her podcast archetypes, billed as a platform for marginalized voices, often felt like an echo chamber for her own. The Spotify deal quietly dissolved. Netflix remained, but the content lacked the cultural punch it promised. Critics called her brand hollow, a collection of expensive wellness products and curated aesthetics wrapped in language of empowerment but short on authenticity. Where once she was seen as a disruptor, now she was compared to an influencer, and not a particularly relatable one. Meanwhile, back in Britain, the royal family recalibrated. King Charles focused on stability. Prince William and Catherine took on more responsibility with grace and restraint.
No PR campans, no docuseries.
Just tradition, just presence. Catherine in particular emerged as Meghan's unspoken foil. Elegant, dutiful, silent. While Meghan chased the narrative, Catherine simply lived hers. And perhaps that was Meghan's greatest miscalculation. In the age of overexposure, mystery became a kind of power. Meghan, for all her media savvy, couldn't resist the stage. But the more she spoke, the less people seemed to listen. The message became familiar, then repetitive, then exhausting. Hollywood noticed. The invitations slowed. Partnerships faded. A quiet distancing began, not scandalous, just telling. In an industry built on image, the Sussex brand became complicated. Prince Harry, once the beloved royal rebel, looked increasingly adrift. Friends from his past went silent. Public appearances felt stilted. The cheeky charm that once defined him now hidden behind carefully managed smiles. Together, they had stepped out of the royal machine in search of freedom. But in its place, they found the cold math of celebrity. No role, no relevance. And then there were the personal fractures. Meghan's estrangement from her father, her siblings, and parts of her past cast long shadows. For a woman who spoke often of compassion and connection, the public began to ask, who was truly in her corner? The woman who once stood beside the Queen, now promoting jam jars and face oils on social media, appeared increasingly isolated. Perhaps the hardest truth is this: Meghan Markle was never truly at war with the palace. In the end, her story is not one of villains and victims, but of image and identity. Of a woman trying to control the narrative in a world that thrives on spinning it for you. Of the high cost of fame when you exchange legacy for visibility. Meghan didn't just leave the royal family. She left behind a role that required her to be something bigger than herself, and discovered that without that role, the spotlight grows colder. What remains is a paradox. A woman who once symbolized modern monarchy now finds herself at the margins of both royalty and celebrity. Not forgotten but fading. Not tragic but telling. Because in the modern age of fame, relevance is rented. And if you spend more time chasing it than earning it, the spotlight will always move on.